Hello, everybody. Stella Bowen here. I am the author of the upcoming book, Read Like a Queen, Real Life Insights to Slay Your Tarot Practice. And as many of you, as I've been sharing, I've had some friends contribute as well. And one of my friends is with us right now. We have Ettie. Ettie, introduce yourself to the world.
Well, hello, I'm Ettie. I am the host of Wildly Tarot podcast, as probably some in the tarot community know me as. I'm also a person that lived in Korea for most of my tarot journey and then moved back to America, and then all chaos broke loose, and now we're just all vibes. That's where I'm at. We're all vibes now.
Chaos comes the vibes. I love
Yes,
that.
yes.
I feel like that needs to be a book that you write.
Yes.
From the chaos comes the vibes. But also, you're also an author.
Oh,
You
yes.
you and
I
Holly.
forget that.
Yeah, it's like that sometimes isn't there. But you and
Yeah.
Holly, who used to host Wildly Tarot podcast with you, wrote an incredible book on the history of art and the tarot.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah,
Yes.
let's not downplay that. That's
Oh yeah,
amazing.
I forget it because we wrote it in the middle of the pandemic, which was like a time suck in and of itself. And Holly and I never did a book tour or anything, because we had to stay at home. So it's one of those things that I have in my back pocket as something I bring out at dinner parties, like, oh, I've authored a book, but I don't remember it at the times that I need to remember it. So
It's funny
yeah.
because that's what tarot was for me. Like I'd go
Oh
to dinner
yeah.
parties. I'm like, by the way, I'm a tarot reader. Hey, it's funny how the tarot appears at dinner parties.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, this is a great way to open conversations, close conversations, and find out information. So
Exactly, exactly. Eddie, can you tell us what brought you to the world of tarot? Like, how did you discover tarot?
It was sort of in my deconstruction period from Christianity. So I'm very open about. I grew up in the South in a very conservative, like independent fundamental Baptist church family. We were anytime the church doors were open, more than 3 times a week we were at church. And then we were Southern Baptist. I went to seminary, graduated from seminary, have a master's degree and all the seminary stuff. And I took a journey to Korea, like I mentioned. And in Korea, I began this like deconstruction process that was a bit unexpected. I was just out in the world, sort of, it's noticing cracks when I was in Tennessee. And then in going out into the world, those cracks became bigger and bigger and bigger until they were at the point of, I say that, like, I was so tired of making excuses for God being an asshole, about slavery, about gay people, about all the things that those are like assholeless positions that nobody calls them out on. They're like, it's that time. I was tired of being that one person to try to defend God when he's more than capable of defending himself in the Christian doctrine. Um, so I found tarot in that time by being in a true crime podcast group that had a lot of female people, and someone posted a feminist tarot deck that's called R Tarot, OUR Tarot, and it was every card had a different empowering woman on it. And I was like, oh, this is cool. I love history. I graduated with a history degree. I love feminism. Like, even when I was in church, I was very forward as one could be in Southern Baptism, as like women speaking and preaching and being a deacon in the church. So it really spoke to me. And then Holly was in a comment. She's like, oh, I know tarot. And that's how things kind of blossomed, with Holly and I being like becoming really close friends. And then me being introduced into the world of tarot. And I'd always been a sort of kind of on the mystic side of Christianity. Again, as much as one could be in like the confines of Southern Baptistism, like there are some things that I could just not explain. And my scripture could not explain it. So I always knew there was something more, and tarot sort of helped fill that gap, so to speak, and kind of give me a way to sort of self-dived expressionism. Like, I loved playing cards, even though they were banned from several summer camps that I went to and like would volunteer at. We weren't allowed to have like traditional playing cards. I had to have like Garfield playing cards or Hello Kitty playing cards for them to be like non-gambling. I don't understand. The rules are so crazy. As I look back on them as an adult, I'm like, why? Anyway, So, but I always had a pair of playing cards in my bags because it was a stim of mine. Being like an ADHD person, it was just easy for me to flip cards. It's very satisfying. So it was sort of through that, tarot became like a thing that I had constantly in Korea. And reading cards, it got me through a lot of situations that I pointed out in the book, things like that. And it was very clear with predictive stuff, like extremely clear. And then with other things, it helped me suss out who I was to become and who I am when I even when I wasn't aware of that, if that makes any sense. So yeah.
Absolutely. It sounds like tarot became very much a almost like a GPS for you, where it's like, well,
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the biggest things with tarot, especially, as humans, we want to understand why. Why
Yeah.
is this happening? Why am I going through this? Why, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it's been I use it for myself as well, for that wonderful tool of why am I going through this right now? And sometimes the cards will look at me and say, just chill, wait, just wait for it. There's
Mm-hmm.
something on the horizon that can't be revealed yet, but just know it's almost there. I,
Mm-hmm.
I want to pick up too on something you said earlier, because this is something I know you and I have connected over.
Yeah.
We've had similar stories, but like a different spin on it. Or as I like
Yes.
to say, we've had similar tires with different rims. That for you, it started when you began to deconstruct your faith in Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
And for myself personally, that's about when it came for me too. Whereas
Uh-huh.
with me, it wasn't so much defending God, but it was trying to reconcile one side of the family. So me going to the Methodist Church, growing up, being involved at the youth group, and confirmed in all of that. But
Mm-hmm.
then my Japanese side of the family being Buddhist,
Yes.
and how the ones like the Buddhist side, it was just like respect all living things,
Mm-hmm.
respect the everything around you. You don't know who is there to teach you something.
Yeah.
And then Christianity is like, well, everybody's okay as long as they're Christian, they'll go to heaven,
Right.
and it's
Right.
like being I remember being like 7 or 8 years old and having that dissonance, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
who what 8-year-old has cognitive dissonance?
Right. Right.
Before
Right.
they know what that is. So yeah, so that, I mean, thank you so much for sharing. And I anybody who knows your story, you're such a beacon of vulnerability that I thoroughly enjoy, and I thoroughly just enjoy talking with you, because you've had me on the podcast a couple of
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
I want to say too, that's how I came to know you, is through Wildly Tarot podcast, because your podcast was so different. I loved it because
Mm.
it was like, this is, it wasn't the typical, this is the Ace of Coins, this is the meaning. This was just
Yeah.
two people talking and being like, let's figure this out. And
Yeah.
so, this is going to shameless plug, but for
Yeah.
for anybody who's watching and listening to this, check out the entire ilk of
Oh yeah.
Wildly Tarot podcast, because it's going to give you such a wonderful perspective on the
Mm-hmm.
cards, and how the card meanings can be so fluid and amorphous.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And check out the whole catalog and read cards with us, because to me that's kind of the point of doing the podcast, was to start was like to give people an opportunity to read, because sometimes like with me I never got that opportunity until like later on, and I made that. So just pull cards with us and see what your answer is compared to ours. It's fun. So
Like, and honestly, you might hear a couple of questions from a certain queen.
mhm.
So how long have you been a reader?
I think when we pinpointed it, it was like 2016, 2017 is when I started. So almost 10 years now. Um, I will say that I've been open to like list. I would say that like the intuitiveness was in me a lot longer before that, if that makes any sense, where there like I would even like those moments I'm telling you I couldn't explain as a Christian. I was in a chapel service and suddenly there was a speaker on stage, and I suddenly had a flash of him looking in a mirror, and looking back at him was a woman. And I had a conversation with him later and he was like, "Yes, I want to be a trans woman, basically is what he was confirming. And he was really struggling with that at that time. Even, and this was like to me in my little like very tiny queer group. We couldn't be really queer at that time. I was just very like loving person. I didn't realize my own queerness at all. Like it was anyway, it was just like, oh yeah, I'm lightly bisexual is like what it was at that point. But I it was I don't want to say it was a vision, but it was just a flash of I feel it was seeing someone's soul and who they truly were supposed to be. And so that's to me like I think that was developing long before tarot came as that means of expression. So yeah, I kind of tie that together because I really think those are sort of intrinsically linked, is that knowingness, that intuitiveness, that seeing someone and then using tarot as like that tool.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I think I feel like it's kind of like, the skill is yours. The
Mm-hmm.
tool that you use though is different depending on who you are. So
Yeah.
it's just like an artist. Some artists use a paintbrush. Some artists use their voice and sing. Some artists play
Mm-hmm.
piano. It's an inner ability that it
Yeah.
just takes a different path on how to express.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I love it. I love it when I get a little bit of a chill because I'm like, oh, that's inspiring. So I just
Oh,
you see you
you're
might you,
sweet.
you might see me shimmer every so I'm like, oh, there's the chill. So the
You're so
get
sweet.
here, hike the girls up here.
There we go. Okay.
What's good? What good is shimmying if you can't see it? So can you tell me what makes you unique as a reader?
I don't know because I'm at that place where it's sort of I've been having a constant identity crisis the past like year, 2 years since I've moved back to the States. And I mentioned some of this in my story in the book, my diatribe, my word vomiting, whatever we
Oh
want to
no.
call it. Yeah. um, where it was very much I've come from like a tower moment and to where I'm in a space of healing, but it's like very chaotic healing. And as a tarot reader, I know that my own strengths are I'm very down to earth. I want to make sure that people understand clearly and succinctly the cards. I'm not a person to ever gatekeep meanings or gatekeep a tarot experience because it's like, who am I to determine what the cards say and how the person receives them? That's for them. I'm not going to steer someone a different way just because I don't think the cards align like that. Like a Seven of Swords. It's the easiest example I have. My perspective on the Seven of Swords is that it's not like a thieving, steely card, lying sneaky butt all the time. It can mean that you're thinking outside the box, strategic, that sort of aspect of things. So in that way, I think that my mind works differently than others because I'm not willing to accept the meanings at face value necessarily that we've always been taught. I'm always wanting to dig down deeper, not necessarily like to contradict bad meanings, so to speak, but like, well, what's a different perspective on this? Because if I keep drawing the devil, does that mean that I'm evil and satanic and whatever? No, sometimes it can mean that maybe there's of course we go to like addiction, but maybe there's like a kinky side to things. Maybe there's aspect to this that I need to kind of break free and go the opposite direction than what I was told early in my life. And I know that it's more common nowadays for people to speak out about those answers, but when I first started doing tarot, that wasn't the case. So I mean, maybe I'm an old hat by now, but but I
No,
I think that that's sort of my superpower is just thinking differently, maybe.
well, and I think what you're describing is the ability to allow the tarot to speak to you and evolve
Yeah.
because one of the contributing authors did write about the devil, but wrote how it was becoming comfortable with the side of him that wasn't so pretty and wasn't
hmm
so put together and wasn't so but also letting go of holding
Yeah.
back. That was very awkwardly worded, but
Mm-hmm.
allowing himself to become who he really wants to become, regardless of how it's viewed.
Yeah.
And it's funny because the Seven of Swords, and I remember picking this up from you. Seven of Swords and the Four of Pentacles were the two that I remember listening to the Wildly Tarot podcast helped me expand my
Hmm.
own knowledge on it. Because typically, when I pull the Seven of Cards, or when a client of mine pulls the Seven of Cards, the first thing that pings in my brain is, got it. You're holding yourself back. You're robbing
Hmm.
the world of you, literally cutting
Hmm.
yourself down,
Yeah.
thinking you should be a certain other way.
Yeah.
And I think that that's such a beautiful thing, because while we have history and tradition, I think the beauty of tarot is that it still can evolve, and it can
Hmm.
still, it's got to be relevant to the person in front of you, to the time, to today. And
Hmm.
we have to have the courage and downright audacity to let it evolve.
Yeah. And tarot comes from a history of like gatekeeping and patriarchy, and we've evolved past that. Thankfully we've evolved past that, and now the meanings can be more nuanced because it's not confined to whatever, excuse me, but some white
Mhm.
guy thought up, 50 years ago, because that's what that death is really death. And not like, that's just terrifying to think that the death
Right.
card is like a literal death and you're walking around in, enwrapped in with fear that at any moment something's gonna happen. That's not the way to live your life. That is, I think that's irresponsible
Mhm.
translation, to be honest.
Mhm.
Like, it can tarot be accurate, yes, but I think it's okay to go beyond what the face value of things were initially, and like you said, evolve it into you finding the meanings for yourself. That's, I think, like
Mhm.
the most empowering thing, as well as don't settle for what someone else tells you, because that's how it was in Christianity for me. Like, I didn't settle for what someone told me. I always tried to push and try to see the information for myself, went to this, core sources of things. And I think that's the same for tarot as well. We should be, academically skeptical of anything that comes across our plate. And I think that is something that's kind of lacking in this world right now, honestly. But I think it's okay for us to have this, it's not even a skeptical view, but just looking at things and being okay with being different and being okay with our meaning being different than somebody else's, because conformity is a trap.
Indeed, indeed. Well, and oh, there was something you said that was so beautiful, and it pinged something in my brain. It'll come back to me, I'm
Okay.
sure. But no, but this is why I enjoy talking to you, is because we always seem to create new meanings around things. And I think that is, again, that goes right back to the beauty of tarot, is that it can be predictive if you set the intention of a reading for it to be predictive,
Hmm.
but it can also be reflective if you set the intention for it to be reflective. It's all about what is your intention in this moment. What
Hmm.
is it, but also what is it you need from tarot? What is it
Yeah.
that you need from the tarot to move you forward, and in an empowered way?
Yeah, yeah. That's always sort of been my, whenever teaching tarot, it's always been like, ask good questions. That's
Mm-hmm.
like number one. And number two, leave the other person or leave yourself empowered to move forward. Like, don't leave people hanging, don't leave yourself hanging. Leave with some resolution, because that feels so much better than being like, you're gonna get divorced, okay, bye. Like, what the
Yeah.
heck is that? Like, we've all had bad readers tell us things, and we were like, okay, now, well, what do I do with this information? Like, I'm feeling raw and open and vulnerable. Like, so I that's why when I teach, I tell people, ask good questions. Like, I don't care what spread you use, but if you're going to get great answers when you ask good questions and leave it empowered, like you said. Yeah,
Exactly,
absolutely.
exactly. Powerful questions create powerful answers.
Absolutely. Yeah.
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 So, well, then I think this is a great place for us to pivot around. So, what card did you choose to write on?
So I chose the star, and I kind of okay, I had to edit it a couple times because I was tying the tower in too much because I tied them together. I believe I said, like, two polar stars that are caught together almost. I don't remember if I left that in my little blurb or not, but that's how I feel with the tower and the star, that they're so intrinsically connected that they are like orbiting one another and like magnetized. Because I honestly think that after a tower moment in our lives, the star happens, and that's where you blossom. That's where you find that deep healing that you didn't realize was necessary. And so that's why, and I had just, like I said, come from my own tower journey into the star journey. So I was like, you know what? I will just write about that because I know not that I know everything about that. I am mostly Leo. So
Hmm.
so I do think that, am I an authoritative person on the star? Yes, because I'm experiencing it live in action, but also like I'm not a know-it-all either. So
Yeah, well, and I think that the beautiful thing has been with this book is that the people who have shared their unique perspectives shared on cards that I myself really had no idea what to share upon because,
hmm
my goal was that I want there to be many different voices in this
yeah.
because could I give you my life's history that has all the different times I've lived through each card? Yes, but after a while, you're
Yeah.
going to get bored with my stories. And it was funny because a lot of people wanted to do the tower. They kept saying, "Oh, I got the tower," and I'm like, "That's mine, guys. Sorry, it's
Uh-huh.
my book.
Yeah.
I'm writing on the tower."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But you bring up, and this kind of goes back to that what we are talking about earlier. I like that we have many things in the tarot where we can think about the companions, and some of them
Yeah.
make perfect sense, like the sun and the moon, the magician and the high priestess, the emperor and the empress. But that perspective about the tower and the star being companions is mind-blowing to me because yeah, you have the tower, the rootedness, the sticking to it no matter what. And yeah,
hmm
there are moments when we need to be the tower and be like, hold on, for dear life. But also when you realize that it's that, as above, so below type of a deal, you got the so below tower, but you have the as above star, and
hmm
reading your story again, my brain was just like, oh my God, this makes so much sense. And I'm a Gemini. I like things when they're do when
Yeah.
there's a duality, because dualities,
Yes.
they're fun for me.
Yeah.
But to make that connection, I mean that it was brilliant. I was just like, oh,
Oh,
and
you're sweet.
I love that I learned so much in this process too in writing the book.
Oh.
So much over the last 3 years, but different story for different time. Have
A different
you
tower for a different star.
a different tower for a different star, a different sun for a different moon? We'll
Yeah.
we'll put that in my memoirs when I
Yes,
when
yes.
I finally get out of my. I still like to say I'm in a quarter life crisis because I guess
Yeah.
that means I'll live until I'm 160.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Absolutely, just call me Methuselah.
hmm
Have you found since writing this that your relationship with the card has changed?
I think it's evolved to a relationship with being okay to let it be. Does that make sense? Where
Yeah.
I'm not the one defining that healing path anymore. I'm not the one like looking out for those things to solve problems anymore. I've just, it's sort of that thing of like letting go of
Mm,
things, because it it gets exhausting. It gets very hard to be the one in control, and I must heal. I must do this thing. I have to do better myself. And it's that grind culture, but in healing, and it's pervasive in our circles, and
mhm,
it's just exhausting to put that pressure on myself to be a certain thing, whether it's someone else's perspective on me or my perspective on myself.
yeah.
Like in my story, it's sort of my coming out story. I kind of cried writing it because I think it was the first time I was able to sort of like synthesize my being a non-binary person and not realizing it until I was like well into adulthood. Like I think was 37, 38, something like that. And like when you are a non-binary person, there's assumptions that come along with it. Like, oh, are you going to get top surgery so you can look more androgynous? Are you going to dress a certain way? And my healing journey has honestly been like me being okay with whatever this is. I kind of call myself a goblin most of the time because that's how I feel. But it's being okay with where I'm at in my journey. I like my body where it's at. I have a partner who's very enthusiastic about me identifying how I like to identify and not by someone else's standard or other people's standards. So that's always an encouraging thing because, like I said in the book, I this was like on the heels of a divorce that where my ex had cheated on me, and I was going through a lot of like beauty standard weirdness because when your partner cheats on you in such a deep way, it affects how you view yourself as a person and as at that time for me as a woman, as a partner, as a helpmeet, so to speak.
Yeah.
And so coming from that journey into where I am now, I'm like, I was defined by so much in my previous relationship, and Christianity set me up for that. Where now I'm like letting go and letting the labels kind of drift away. Like I'm a non-binary person. That's that's what I am. That's how I feel comfortable. My when I feel euphoric when people use they them pronouns, it makes me feel great. Um, but I'm not going to be closed fist to be like, oh, well, now today I need to achieve the best androgynous look that I can achieve. Sometimes I want to wear a muumuu. Okay, let me wear a muumuu. So I think that's where I'm at in my healing journey right now. Where before I needed labels, I needed boxes
Uh,
to help define my relationship, to help define me as a human. And now I've kind of gone into this black hole of sorts where it's like, okay, whatever. Which I don't know if that is healing or if that's ignorance. I'm not sure, but that's where I am in my healing journey right now. It's like,
I mean,
okay.
think it reminds me of something. It reminds me of something I read. I don't even know where I read this, but of course, with the political storm being what it is right now, because
Mm-hmm.
let's face it, everything is up in the air and everything
Yeah.
is under attack, and everybody's identities,
Mm-hmm.
regardless, seem to be called into question
Yeah.
and are in danger. And I remember reading something once where basically now this was for trans people, mind you, but
Uh-huh.
I feel like this is such a wonderful mentality to have, or a wonderful reminder to have, especially for
Yeah.
people who are cis like myself, that you know non-binary trans do not owe you androgyny. They
Mm-hmm.
do not owe you. They do not owe you if that is who they wish to be. They don't have to prove it to you. Let
Yeah.
them be who they want to be. And I think that is
Yeah.
such a powerful stance of just let I am, and that's a
Mm-hmm.
complete sentence. I am, and that is
Yeah.
all you need to know.
Yeah. Yeah. And also maybe the hormones because I'm perimenopausal. So,
Yeah, but you know what? But
it
you
could be
know what?
anything.
What a way what a way to celebrate that, I think, too,
Yeah.
is just I think it's yeah, you've given this acknowledgement to me, a
Mm-hmm.
couple of times on the podcast, but it's also been such a mutually celebratory thing to see you come into your own as
Mm.
well, that I'm just like, it's like I don't want to say I came late to the game, because I
No.
was a listener, then I wrote in a couple of times, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I can do this podcast with you,
Yeah.
yay, let's
Yeah,
share, we'll
absolutely.
share. But it's also just kind of like, how you have that one person that they stand behind. I'm like, oh, I'm so proud of them, look at
Oh,
them
yeah, yeah, yeah.
go. And that's kind of what I feel like I've been doing. I'm like the
Oh,
drag auntie that I'm just like, yes,
yeah.
go, 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 go. I
Oh,
might not be the
thank you.
loudest cheer, but I'm just like, go you, I love it.
Yes. Oh,
So
I love that. Thank you so much.
yeah,
You
of
have no idea how
course.
much that means to me. I want to cry. It's so sweet.
Well,
Yeah.
so I love that you brought up what you had put earlier, what you talked about, because again we got I got the copy in. Oh my gosh, I'm so good.
Yay! I can't wait to have it
Uh,
in my hands.
and so I do want to read the first little bit of what you wrote. So I've been showing everybody here. So yep, the
Oh.
Living Tarot, start with Ettie here.
Uh-huh.
And I do want to read honestly, I want to read the whole first paragraph just because it is so good. And it's going to be I think this is going to be a wonderful teaser
Oh,
for
good.
people to, get the book because it's available for
Yeah.
pre-order now. All
Yay.
right, so Living Tarot, the Star with Eddie. So the star always follows the tower. They are binary stars working in tandem together, inseparable. The tower brings moments of destruction and upheaval, of rending body from soul that are always followed in some part by a return to the innateness of who you are within for healing. The discoveries made during these times of hardship have a chance to simmer and integrate in these moments of rest and recovery found in the star. The sorrow of the tower and the joy of the star are tethered together, for how can we see and understand one without the other in life? And it's just, oh, so good. Just so good. And and I mean, and you go on, to share your experience and all that, but oh, it's the I honestly, all the people who contributed, all of the writers who contributed gave such wonderful viewpoints, and it's such a pleasure to have. Well, first off, it was such an honor that everybody who said yes, and
Yes.
it's such an honor to have your words in this debut. No, I'm not
Oh.
just calling it the debut novel, the debut book, because
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
We're gonna have a
um,
sequel.
exactly. I've more to come on that.
Yes.
More to come on that. So I do very, very much love it. And hearing, rehearing those words that you yourself wrote,
Hmm.
what is there any advice that you want people to walk away with as they explore the star and as they explore especially where it falls in the grand major arcana? Is there any advice that you would like other tarot readers to walk away with as they get a chance to experience the star through your words?
The thought that came to mind with that question is to stay present in the star, because I think a lot of times on our healing journey, we want to get over it. We want to get past that because we know once we're past that, we're going to be like in our heyday, right? So I really honestly think, though, that dwelling in the star's energy, dwelling in that healing oasis, taking a moment to recognize the sorrow and recognize where you came from and the hardness and the turmoil and toil and all of the gritty ugliness that you went through with that tower moment. Because while it is a moment that kind of like helps refine you and helps destroy things that are unnecessary or aren't useful for your journey anymore, it still hurts a lot. And like I'm 2 or 3 years past, almost 4 years past that specific tower that I was referring to, and there's still times when it hurts.
Mhm.
And I really think that our culture is so quick to move past the dwelling and the being stage of the star. Because especially if you look at the card itself, she's not in a hurry to get anywhere.
Hmm.
She's sitting by the river, she's filling her cup emotionally, she's, bathing herself in the waters, cleaning everything that needs to be, the gunk that needs to be washed away. But I do think that so many times we don't want to go through that grief and that mourning. And the healing space, that star space, is meant for that.
Yeah.
It's not meant to be a journey. It's not meant to be a notch in the belt to get over. It's meant for true being state there. And so I think that's for me what came to mind to answer your question is like, don't be in a hurry to move past it. Don't
Yeah.
be in a hurry
Yeah.
to solve the problem because that's what we've been kind of tailored to do in our culture. It's okay to stay there until you get that small voice saying like, okay, it's time to take the step forward into something else and then moving forward.
And for all we know, her tears might be going into the water, and her tears might be a
Absolutely.
part of that too. Like
Mm-hmm.
that image came to me as you were talking, and
Absolutely.
absolutely, I feel like we're just as a culture, we're so uncomfortable with quote unquote negative emotions,
Yeah.
that if it's not aggressive, I mean, because it,
Mm-hmm.
it feels to me like if it's an active negative emotion, so if it's an aggressive emotion, if it's anger, if it's
Mm-hmm.
frustration that turns into anger, it's like if it's anger driven, it is very much celebrated. But if it is
Mm-hmm.
more passive, if it is sadness, if it is depression, if it is grief,
Mm-hmm.
because we're not equipped to handle it, it's just you're now making me uncomfortable. Get off.
Yeah.
Get off it.
Yeah.
So, and
Uh-huh.
it aligns perfectly with a good friend of mine who that is her thing. She's another a coach, a wonderful coach like I am, but
Oh.
she's a grief coach, and her
Mm-hmm.
her thing is her big thing is how I she wants to reteach us how we handle grief,
Mm-hmm.
and how that means we handle grief if it's personal or if it's somebody we know. And so
Yeah.
that is such a beautiful reminder that it's okay. And
Yeah.
if you are grieving something, or if you have an emotion come up, even though it's 7, 10, 20 years ago, it's there for a reason. Feel it,
Yeah.
and just feel it and let it go through, let it go through your body.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, I love it. Oh, so what, Eddie, tell us, where can we find you in the cyber world
Oh,
around us?
oh gosh. I'm starting to return back from a sabbatical because I have a new job. It was very intense. We just got over testing. We're about to go in on the floor. It's a whole thing. So I'm finally back from the sabbatical. And so you can follow the podcast itself, Wally Tarot podcast. It's like on Spotify, Apple Music. I have a Patreon where I do video episodes themselves, a little bloopy little extras and stuff like that. And you can find me. I just changed my name to N Bewitched, EN, and then the word bewitched because I thought that was a really cute pun.
Hmm.
So that's on Instagram. And that's pretty much where you can follow me. Usually people find the podcast first because it's much easier to find than typing my name out. But yeah,
Hmm.
follow there. And you're more than welcome to join the Patreon for like $1 a month to get into the Discord. I love my little Discord community because everyone's just so sweet and very helpful and stuff like that. So I just keep it at $1 because I don't want trolls coming in. And I'm like, trolls won't pay $1. So
It's a true story. It's a true story.
yeah,
It's like
yeah.
it's like they if you're gonna pay $1 and you're still gonna have beef,
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for the dollar.
right. So thank you for the dollar and not taking it to Taco Bell. So
Exactly, yeah. And you're blocked still. Okay,
it's
yeah.
like, and you still don't, and my rules we get to play. So yeah,
Exactly,
and
exactly.
also too, what is the full title of your
Oh, the
your
book.
book? Yeah.
The history of tarot art. It's a giant red cover. It's a coffee book. It's heavy. It's beautiful artwork. The publisher themselves, Epic Ink, is a publisher for that, and they did a beautiful job. And yeah, it's one of my favorite things just because I get to nerd out about tarot history and get to go into realistically what happened and how we got this thing called tarot and not like the fake lore that is perpetuated through a lot of tarot people. So anyway,
And you
yeah.
know what? Now that I think about it, let me take a look here. I do believe I make reference to it in my book
Oh,
someplace.
sweet.
I know I do make reference to the Wildly Tarot podcast
You
because
did.
it was honestly without the podcast, without me taking the chance to write into the podcast, none of this would have happened. So,
I'm like,
it's
yes, we absolutely need a tarot reading drag queen. I need them on my payroll. I can't pay
yeah.
anybody, but I would love them on a payroll.
Exactly. I will pay them in love and affection. That's fine by
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
So, awesome. And so and then I want to brag on you just a bit too,
Oh,
because you're also such a wonderful creative. One of my favorite tarot decks you've created, the Hilda. I
oh,
love Hilda.
yeah.
So I don't know if she's ever going to come back into the world, and you know what? That's fine. I'm okay with having my own version of Hilda.
Yes, yes.
Because I will gatekeep Hilda because she's
Oh,
amazing.
Thank you.
You also have wildlytarot.com as
Uh-huh.
well, where you can
Yes.
find out. So yeah,
Yeah.
Ettie, thank you so much again. Thank you for
Yeah, thank
contributing your
you.
words of wisdom to the star.
Oh,
And I'm so happy that you said yes to this project when I asked
of
you.
course.
And I'm excited I'm excited for the next season of Wildly Tarot podcast.
Oh, thank you. I can't wait to have your book into my greedy little hands and so I can like hand out copies to new tarot readers that I'm teaching. Like, this one's the one. This one's it. I
And,
can't
and
wait.
and and like you and said, what I love about it is you get all this wonderful goodness. And when they said we're going to price point it at $20, I'm
Yes.
like, absolutely,
Absolutely. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yep. Yep.
All right. Well,
So good.
everybody, thank you so much for joining myself and Ettie. Please remember to read like a queen. Real life insights to slay your tarot practice is available for pre-sale wherever books are sold. And I just want you to I just look at this. Look at this.
It's
I matched my
gorgeous.
eyeshadow
You
to the book.
did.
So
Love.
we're
I
gonna say
noticed,
it
by
was
the way.
intentional. We're gonna say it was intentional, even though it wasn't unintentional. But uh, you know, Ettie, thank you so much, and everybody, thank you
Oh, yeah.
for tuning in, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Go forth and tarot wildly.